Well, exciting things are happening. We got the hood on. My brother came up last weekend or weekend before, I can't remember what it was. And we set the hood on there, so that's pretty much ready to go. Unfortunately, when we did, there's a center part here in the grill, or in the hood, and that was hitting the grill when we would close it. And I went ahead and I took the bumper loose and I dropped that down to try to get enough room. And I was able to shut the hood, but I couldn't get my hand in there to reach the lever to open it up again. And I even tried lifting the fenders a little bit, adjusting things, and just couldn't get it down enough or up enough to reach in there. And as it turns out, this nose part of it here is actually pushed in and down, so that was keeping the whole thing from being able to shut properly. So I just removed that. See if I can find my hood latch. So I just took that whole piece off for now, and now we can open and shut the hood, and we'll leave it like that until we can get this nose kind of pulled up back into place. But hood's on, and I also went ahead and I took apart the brake booster there and cleaned her all out. Took a wire wheel, cleaned it, and then I went over it with 80 grit, sanded it down, and then 220 grit and sanded it down nice and smooth. And it was working on the bench. I'd push a piston in and it would come all the way back out, and I put it back together and put it in the car, and it's sticking again. I think that piston in there, when it moves, it kind of gets a little cockeyed and sticks. So rather than take it out and try to mess with it again right now, I just went ahead and I adjusted the brake switch so that the brake lights aren't on all the time. And my brother has got insurance on it now, and he's going to come up tomorrow, and we'll throw the plates on and take it for a little spin, I think. So before tomorrow, I want to get a few things done, get that thing glued in so that don't fly away. Also want to kind of screw the dash back together because it's just kind of sitting here. Get the speedometer hooked up, get that ignition switch back in there, get that all snug down, and probably secure that battery a little better, and then we can take it for its maiden voyage after we get the plates on. And we'll see how it runs. Hopefully it just works and we don't have any problems, and we can drive it around a little bit. Alright, I think we're pretty much ready for tomorrow. I went ahead and screwed the dash back in a couple of places so it ain't going nowhere. I got the key switch put back in its place. I even threw an old seat cover on here so we don't have to sit directly on the crumbling foam. But I think she's ready to go. I'll probably tear out the rest of this headliner just to get that out of the way, because I'm sure it'll be blowing around and falling off, and yeah, I might want to clean the inside of the windshield here. It's kind of nasty, but other than that, I think we'll be ready to go. Well, I took her for a little spin yesterday down the driveway just to make sure everything was going to work, and the speedometer didn't work. The cable's okay, but there's a pretty nasty noise inside the speedometer itself, and the needle doesn't move. So I took this one, which is a spare one, and I plugged it into the speedometer, and it didn't work either. So I tore it apart, and there was a couple of mud dauber nests in there. You can see the pieces of them. And there was one actually right here where the needle is, and that was binding that up. So I knocked that loose, and I spun the back here, and that seems to work. So I think what I'll do is I'll clean all this up, put it back together, and have it ready to throw in the car. Not going to do it today because my brother should be showing up any minute, and take it for a drive. So don't have time to put all that together and take the dash out and everything to swap it out. So I'll box all this stuff up and clean it up later. Hopefully I won't lose anything, and then we should be ready to go. I think we'll just use our cell phones to tell how fast we're going. That should work. Well, my brother showed up, and we put plates on it and took it out for its maiden voyage up to the gas station. And it did good all the way up to the gas station. Then we parked it, and before I noticed, my brother had filled it with 87 rather than the premium stuff. And when we left the gas station, it started running like crap. So I don't know if that was just because of the the crappy fuel, the 87, or maybe this thing was getting a little too hot and just ran like crap when it's hot. I'm not really sure because the gauge only goes up to a quarter and then it stops. The thing didn't overheat and boil over, but it was definitely, I think, warmer than the gauge indicated. So let it cool down now for a bit, and I'm going to fire it up and we're going to see if it still runs like crap. And if it does, then that's a pretty good indication that the gas is crap. I think I'm going to drain it out either way, but we'll see what it does. Yeah. Won't even hardly idle anymore. Kind of coming back, but not really thrilled with it. Well, in any event, I think I'm going to drain out that gas and I'll get premium back in it just to be safe. And then I'm going to replace the coolant temperature sensor. I have to buy one of those, and then I'm going to be taking out this dash anyway to get that cluster out. So when I do that, I'll be replacing that coolant temperature gauge, and hopefully that'll fix it. And I'll see how it runs on the premium stuff, and if it runs okay, then I'll leave it alone. If not, then I got to track down why it's running like crap. So yeah, we'll get her on the road again. Well, as you can hear, got my little electric pump running, and I'm sucking all the gas out of this thing. And I decided to go in and check the specs in the factory manual there, because I couldn't remember what compression ratio this thing had, and it was 10.5 to 1, so we definitely need premium fuel, and I'm pretty sure all of our running issues are because of we got the 87 in it. So I didn't even think to tell my brother to put premium in it at the time. I just kind of had it in my head that, you know, old car put premium in it. Didn't think to tell him, so I guess it was my bad. But we'll get this out of here. We'll get the high test stuff in it, and I guess I get a bunch of free gas. I don't know. But we'll get it running good again. Alright, I got all that 87 pumped out of it. I got 10 gallons of high test boom juice in the tank. Let's go take it for a spin and see if it starts running a little better after I get all that 87 out of the carburetor. Alright, let's hit the road. If I can keep it running. Damn 87. Yeah, let her warm up a while, and then we'll head out. Alright, I'll let it sit here and idle for a little bit, and it's slowly coming out of it. It's just got to burn all that crap gas out. Yeah, at least it idles on its own, so see if it'll go down the road a ways. Hopefully. Oh yeah, getting better already. A couple of miles on it, I think it'll be real good. Well, I should have about all that 87 run out of it now. Running maybe a little better, but still not great. Almost feels like there's brake dragging too. I have to check that out, but it didn't stop running. That's a good thing. Although it does kind of like to die every now and again. I have to do some adjustment. Well, I suppose you can't see the friggin' thing there, huh? clean the windows. And I got an exhaust leak, gonna have to fix that. But it is moving. That's a good thing. It got me where I was going, and so far it's got me back, so not counting my chickens where they're hatched, I guess. Well, alright, I got it running halfway decent again. I had to fatten it way up though, so that leads me to believe either the carburetor got some crap in it and it's blocking it and it's not getting enough fuel, or I sprung a vacuum leak. But the 87 should be out of it anyway, at least, so I'm going to have to, I think, buy some carb spray and spray around there and see if that thing's got a leak somewhere. But let's fire it up and see if it's running a little bit better. It was when I shut it off, but still not quite right though. And I should be able to open this. I'll get it to idle up, but and don't do a whole lot. So I'll have to see if I got a vacuum leak somewhere, but at least it'll idle on its own now. I have to play with it some more and take it for another drive, I think. Well, I did manage to find some carb spray and got this thing started up and running, sorta, and sprayed around the base of the carburetor there, and I definitely have a vacuum leak, so that's what's going on. I suppose it heated up and cooled down a few times, and yeah, got a vacuum leak in there somewhere. So, I mean, I've tightened the carburetor down, and that doesn't seem to change anything. So I'll have to pull that off and check out and see what's inside there, what's going on. But at least the thing ran and went down the road a couple of times. Now we get that straightened out, maybe we can take it for a little longer drive. Alright, I think for the most part I got this thing worked out. I went ahead and I pulled the carburetor off of it and opened it up, and when I did, I saw that these screws here were loose, so this thing didn't have a good seal on there, and I'm pretty sure it couldn't suck enough fuel to run right. So I tightened those screws. And another thing I noticed on the carburetor when I pulled it off is these gaskets actually have a little slot in each one of those. And at first I thought maybe it had the wrong gasket on it, but I pulled this one out of the trunk of, or out of the back seat of one of the parts cars, and it has the same gasket, so it must be the way it is, or the way it's supposed to be. And I think that's why when I sprayed a little bit of carb spray at the base of the carburetor, it got into those spots and sucked it in, and it ran a little bit better and changed the way it was running. So maybe I didn't have a vacuum leak down at the bottom, at least not a big one. I noticed that the throttle shaft on the other one is a little wobbly, a little loose, so I do probably have a bit of vacuum leak coming out of there, but it runs much better now. It doesn't seem to want to die. I might try to clean up some pieces of that for parts. I don't think I have enough of a carburetor there to make a good one, but you never know. So let's get this thing back into the garage, and yeah, I think we'll call that a video. Still not perfect, but better than it was.